22 women are making their case against Texas's abortion ban in front of the state Supreme Court.
Yeah, that court hearing arguments on the women's lawsuit who say their lives were put in danger over the state's multiple abortion bans.
Fox 26 senior legal analyst Tritico joins us this morning to explain yesterday's hearing. Welcome and thanks for being here. All right, let's talk about what unfolded yesterday. What did you see happen and how does that affect everything going on with this right now?
So the lawsuit is over the failure of the legislature to explain in the law what a doctor can and cannot do. And so the law bans any abortion after there's a heartbeat detected. And the doctor or anybody who assists a woman in getting an abortion can be charged with a second-degree felony, except in very narrow circumstances when the life of the mother is in danger. But that doesn't explain what that means. And so what the lawsuit is about is in what circumstances can a caregiver give an abortion and when is the life of the mother actually in danger. And that's what this lawsuit was about, and a judge granted an injunction saying under these circumstances we can now expand this law and give life care under certain circumstances. The case for the Supreme Court is the appeal of that by the state saying you have overexpanded what the legislature meant.
And so there's 22 plaintiffs, 20 patients, and 2 physicians. What kind of an impact do you think this case could have moving forward?
Well, so the Supreme Court can do 3 things. I think they're going to find jurisdiction. That was the primary issue. Is there jurisdiction here? They're going to find that. But they can do one of 3 things. They can leave it as it is, which would expand the law until the case goes to a full trial. Or they can deny the injunction, which would go back to the law the way it was previously, which would almost ban all abortions. And patients would have to wait to see what happens. And doctors are afraid to give these abortions because they don't know what the law is. That was the basis of the law anyway. Or they could do some hybrid, and I don't see that happening. With our Supreme Court the way it is, very conservative, I'm more inclined to think that they would leave the law the way it is. But with the questions the way they were asked and the way the Supreme Court was looking at this, they may just in fact leave this injunction in place until the main trial.
And then when do you think that we'll find something out? When will we know so that it's more clear-cut for these physicians about what to do?
That's an excellent question. The way things work at Supreme Courts, the United States Supreme Court or Texas Supreme Court, it takes months for them to issue a ruling. And so now this being an injunction, it may come sooner, but sometimes it can be till May or June of next year before you get a ruling out of the court. And so it takes them a long time to draft their opinions, and it takes even sometimes a very long time for them to come to a consensus on how they're going to rule. There's 9 justices, and they have to come to how they're going to vote on these things before they can even get their opinions drafted.
Well, anything else that came out of that case that was stood out to you?
The thing that stood out to me was the harsh questions that were asked of the Attorney General on how they were addressing the law, and that may indicate that they may let this injunction stay in place, because they were asking questions saying that the way they were asking the questions indicated that they see that there is a conflict here that leaves doctors in a position that they cannot make a decision. And women are left to say, you have to wait until you're near death before we will act, and that puts people's lives at risk. And that's the problem with the law.
And then there's something that people haven't even thought about when they're thinking of abortion. They think of taking the baby's life, but there have been local women in Houston who've had a miscarriage, they've lost their baby, and they have to keep the deceased baby inside of them because the doctor won't remove it. Well, so it affects a lot of people in different ways.
And every one of these women, I think except one, wanted the baby. This is not unwanted pregnancies. These are wanted pregnancies that terminated because of a medical problem. This is not people who got pregnant and didn't want the baby.
That's such an important part of all of this, Chris. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.